Welcome to this presentation on U.S. Census data. My name is Kathy Gaynor, and I'm a librarian at the Webster University Library on the home campus in St. Louis, Missouri. Census data shows up in many articles, books, websites, etc. In this report titled Economic Development Profile, North St. Louis County, Missouri, the source of the data is listed as the U.S. Census from 2010. This is the census we are most familiar with, which is done every 10 years. It's also known as the decennial census. In this example, the author examined data from something called the American Community Survey. The article looked at the percent of households without access to the internet per census tract in the city of St. Louis. What is the American Community Survey? How does it differ from the decennial census? And what is a census tract? And how can you find census data for your research? In this video, we will cover the basics of census data and suggest where you can go to find additional information. Let's look at a brief history of the census. The decennial census has been done every 10 years since 1790. In 1940, the government started using a short form for gathering basic data, and a longer form, which was used with a sample of the U.S. population. In 2005, the longer form was replaced with the American Community Survey. The decennial census is designed to provide a count of the entire U.S. population. The American Community Survey is designed to gather data about how we live. The most important difference to remember is that the decennial census is an actual count and is theoretically distributed to every household. The American Community Survey is only sent to a sample of U.S. households every year and yields estimates, not actual counts. From the sample of U.S. households surveyed every year, the Census Bureau creates 1 or 5-year estimates depending on the population of a geographic area. Large urban areas, for example, get yearly estimates, while small towns get 5-year estimates. Here are the questions that are planned for the decennial census in 2020. And here are the areas covered by the American Community Survey. Although census surveys are sent to households, data is publicly reported for larger geographical areas, not individuals, to protect your privacy. The U.S. is divided up into jigsaw-like areas called tracts, and tracts themselves are broken up into smaller areas called blocks. The map on the screen shows you all the tracts for St. Louis County here in Missouri. Let's see how you can determine the block and tract for an individual address. Let's start at the library homepage, library.webster.edu. Then click on the Research Guides button. The research guide for this class can be found by clicking on the Keystone Seminars link, then selecting City Life St. Louis. On the blue column along the left, click on Census Data. Under U.S. Census Data to the right, we will use the geocoder tool to enter a street address. If we search the geocoder for the address of the Emerson Library here on the home campus, we get the report that is partially shown on the left. Here you will find the block and tract in which the library is located. By the way, you can find definitions for the geographical terms used by the census at various sites online. If we zoom in on a census map of the area, we find block 1009 and see the outline for the library as well as some of the other buildings on campus. Census blocks are the smallest geographical areas used by the census. Sometimes you see mention of a census block group. A block group is made up of multiple blocks in the same census tract, which start with the same block number. Blocks with numbers beginning with the number 1, for example, are in block group 1. Zooming out further shows the outline of the census tract 2195 and its block groups. Another geographic term you will see is the word place, which is commonly used for cities and towns. The area shaded in yellow is the city of Webster Groves, Missouri. You can see that it contains a number of census tracts within its boundaries. Some tracts, however, straddle the city limits of Webster Groves and another incorporated area or place. For example, tract 2189 at the top left is partially in Webster Groves and partially in Rock Hill. For your research, you may want to gather data for a place, such as a city, as a whole, or you may want to focus on one or more census tracts. Let's see how we can do so. First, let's determine which tracts fall within the city limits of a particular place. On the class research guide, under Census Data, select Census Business Builder Regional Analyst Edition. In the Census Business Builder, I searched for Kirkwood, Missouri. The map that appeared has Kirkwood shaded in blue. To find Kirkwood's tracts, click on the word tract in the menu bar to the top and left of Kirkwood. Census tract numbers appear within the city boundary outline. As we saw before, some tracts are totally within the city limits, and some are only partially located in Kirkwood. Next, let's determine what information we want to learn about a place such as Kirkwood or some of its individual tracts. It helps immensely to go to the American Community Survey subject tables page and first look through the list of available data tables. Each subject table has a title and a unique table ID to the right. Let's use the first one, age and sex, which is table S0101. Next, we'll go to the data.census.gov website, the main site for finding census data. Let's search for Kirkwood, Missouri, and table S0101, which is the age and sex table. We can go directly to the table we want by clicking the first option that appears. The age and sex table with data for Kirkwood appears on the screen. If instead we want to look at individual census tracts in Kirkwood, we would go to the second option, Maps. A map of Kirkwood appears. Notice directly above the shaded area, the geography setting is set to place. Let's change it to census tract. Changing the geography setting at the top right to census tract causes the tracts for Kirkwood and the surrounding area to appear. Let's click on tract 2183. Clicking on tract 2183 causes a window to appear. Click Select to select this tract. The computer shades in the tract you have selected. Then we can go to the menu bar directly above it and click on Table. The age and sex table for that particular tract will appear on your screen. Census data can be complicated to work with and understand. The Census Academy is a helpful place to find videos and other instructional materials. Thank you for spending time with me today. Please contact a librarian if you have questions as you work on your assignments for this class.